Well, hey crafty friends, happy Thursday to you, or whatever day of the week it might be if you're watching this on replay. Today we're going to do something completely different. We are going to play with some vintage quilt pieces or quilt scraps that were sent to me by one of my friends named Ann Causey. So Ann, if you're watching, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. If you've been watching DIY Dreaming for any amount of time, you know I'm totally a sentimental kind of person. I love doing crafts with things that have some history, and vintage quilts, vintage buttons, vintage lace, all that kind of stuff. Vintage books, vintage sheet music, those are all totally right up my alley. So today, I'm going to show you how to make these adorable stuffed butterflies, and I'm going to show you a bunch of different options for this little piece, and then we're going to do a couple versions of these little flowers that you could put in an arrangement. You could add them to a fresh plant. You could do a whole arrangement of these. This is really just to give you some ideas and start your creative juices flowing. So as you're hopping on, say hello, let me know where you're watching from. Feel free to sprinkle all that normal good stuff. Okay, so I don't know if you remember, it was at least a year ago, Anne had sent me some other pieces of quilts that were made by her grandmother and her great-grandmother. Is that precious or what? Anyways, and in case you're having your feathers all ruffled about this, these were quilts that were already cut into pieces. So she did not take a good quality quilt, and neither did I, and cut it up and use it for crafts. It was already in scraps, so you might as well use it. Anyways, I just wanted to show you this and ask you guys, it's a little dusty, if you remember when we made this, because this was one of the projects that we made last year using the pieces of a quilt that she had sent me then. Just trying to see if I can get a good shot of it. And this is just a two-sided glass frame. Okie dokie. So I have been playing with quilt pieces all day. I've been sitting in my comfy recliner chair with the TV on, with a pair of scissors, with some computer paper patterns, and just cutting, and then fooling around. And I have some ideas to show you. So let's start at the very beginning. Okay, let's start with the flowers. I made two different styles. This one, I don't know if you can see, I feel like I'm leaning. This one I used my sewing machine, and I stitched around the edges of each petal. Can you see that? And I was fiddling around. I used this stitch too, just to see what it would look like. And it is cute, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary to do that if you don't have a sewing machine, okay? However, if your quilt is in terrible shape and it's falling apart, it is good to stitch around the edges, because that kind of holds everything in place. Okay, and also on this one, we're going to do this style again. I pinched the center of each one of these little flower petals just to give it some movement. Can you see that? And then it's mounted on just a dowel from Walmart. This one is mounted the same, but I laid all my quilt pieces on there flat, and then I used a little vintage lace around the centerpiece, and the back looks basically the same. So I just wanted to show you these two versions. It's completely personal preference, what you prefer. I don't think I need to do that sew around the edges, but I do like the pinched shape. So that's what we're going to do today. And that's really a big part of what I do here at DIY Dreaming, is I figure out what works and what really doesn't work, what is special, what isn't special, and those are the kind of tips I like to share. Okay, so let me show you my pattern. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, I drew this pattern on a piece of computer paper. It's like a heart that has a very modified center indent. And I'm going to grab my ruler ruler because I know for sure someone's going to ask me, how big is it? And this was just, you know, just me eyeballing it. Okay, it's about 3 inches long. And at the widest, it's about 2.5 inches wide. But you can honestly do whatever shape for flower petals, whatever size appeals to you. This is just what I did, and then I've used pins to hold it on, and this piece of paper is about to fall apart. Okay, and then I just, how was I going to do this? I have to remember. Okay, and then I just pinned it on different spots on my quilt. I'll show you. And I did it on a full piece, and then I would cut roughly around it because that makes it easier to cut it out. Use a pair of scissors that are sharp, and make sure that that you don't cut yourself. Because, I mean, you're cutting hard to get through all these layers. And so I could see you snipping the end of a finger off or something if you're not careful. So I'm just going to show you. You can see basically what I'm doing. I am not at all worried about these being perfectly shaped or perfectly the same size. So this is what I just got. And I think, you know, okay, I bet a lot of you guys are asking, where can you find stuff like this? Well, you know, look in your hall closet and your blanket closets and see if maybe you have something from a long, long time ago that's fallen apart. I mean, don't cut it up if it's a family memento or a special antique. But if it's fallen apart already, then you might consider it. Otherwise, you can find little bits of quilts at antique stores, at antique malls. You can order little bits and pieces of quilt bits or quilt pieces or quilt scraps on Etsy. You might even be able to get something like that on Amazon. So I just happened to get these pieces from my friend Anne. But I think they're not super expensive, and if you want to do this, I'm sure you can find it. You could even ask around. Okay, so this was the piece I just cut out, and before I came live, oh my word, I cut out a ton of pieces. Let's see if we can go down a little bit further. Cold and gray in Wisconsin. Oh, Lynn, I'm sorry. You know what? It's cold. Well, no, it's not cold, but it's chilly and breezy and dark and gray in Atlanta. So I have all my lights turned on in here. And anyways, I hope it's bright enough and that you can see okay. Let's see. Oh, and Donna says she doesn't feel good. I'm so sorry, Donna. I hope you feel better. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of them cut out. And I think each flower takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around 6 petals, 5 or 6 petals. Or you could do more if you want. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is show you the gluing. And I am using my handy dandy, ooh, cruddy. It is cruddy looking. Shoe bonder, hot glue gun. And I'm going to show you a tip. When they start to get all yucky, take a used dryer sheet, and while it's hot, you can clean the strings and all the mess off of your glue gun. So I'm using a low temperature hot glue gun because I had way too many hot glue burns, and this is an inexpensive one. You can find it at any craft store pretty much, at Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Joann's. It's called Sherbonder, cool shop. And yeah, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little teeny bead of glue. Can you see that? And I'm just going to pinch each piece in half. Okay, and this is what it'll give us. It'll just give us a little shape. So let's crank out a few of these. There's so many other things that you guys can make with vintage quilt scraps or pieces. I was looking at Pinterest last night just to get some more ideas, and I saw these darling little birds, so that's something to think about. Tons of hearts. What else? Oh, I saw some banners that were kind of cool. So there's just a lot of different things that you could do with these. Okay, so this is basically what I'm doing. It's just gluing and pinching. Let's see, do I have any more to do here? Yeah, just a couple. Okay, and I did a bunch before I came live too. There's one more. Oh, this one I actually sewed. Can you see that? So we won't use that one. That was when I was experimenting to see if it was really necessary or not. Okay, then we need to cut a circle. And it doesn't need to be any particular size or anything special because it's just going to be the back. So we will cut another piece to be the circle to go over the center of our flower when we're all finished. I don't know what my deal is, but I can never cut a circle. Close enough. All right, so I have these dowels that came, I don't have the packaging for it anymore, but they came from Walmart and they had like 2 or 3 different sizes of dowels. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just glue my dowel into the center of this piece. So I'll just put a good line of hot glue and stick my dowel into that. That's what the back looks like. Does not matter at all. Okay, and then you kind of want to look at your pieces. For this one, I want to do a big variety of colors and designs. Okay, so I picked out 6 pieces. All right, what do you guys think so far? Anne says she's so glad I'm quilting with an old quilt today. Well, Anne, it's yours. Thank you so much. I don't know if you missed the beginning of this, but I would love it if you would tell me the history of this old quilt that we're playing with today. Okay, so now we're just going to add some glue and start adding our petals. These are looking like they maybe could have used a little bit tighter pinch. Oh wow. Yeah, this is going to be adorable. So you're just kind of building your layers in whatever order you want. It does not make any difference whatsoever. We're going to cover up the mess in the middle when we're all done. Not space those very well. This is why it's such a good idea to use low temperature hot glue gun, because I have hot glue everywhere. Oh my word. And that is what we have so far. Now I'm going to tack down the loose bits from one petal onto the top of the next. Oh my gosh, this one is adorable. And I think what I love about it is that I cut different, like this one I mostly did a section of the quilt that was the blues. Okay, this one is all different colors. And it's mostly pastel. Isn't that funny? When you're looking at these quilts, I don't know what the story is exactly, except that they had little bits and pieces of different fabrics and they just used what they had. And they loved all the different colors combined, and I love that too. So I have all these pieces still left, which I will fiddle around with those later. But now we need to do a center on it. What do you guys think? Is that adorable or what? So cute, thank you. Hey, did I say any of my normal stuff? Feel free to sprinkle. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle if you like this project. Feel free to ask questions. I don't have any links or anything to give you on this today. Just the idea, and I hope that you like that. Okay, so now we need to cut a center. And I'm just looking to see what, you know what, I would like it to be this little piece of pink right here. So let's make that happen. All right, this is definitely not a circle. So I'm going to try my best to get somewhat circle going. Okay, close enough. All right, so next up is butterflies, so stay with me because these are pretty darn cute too. Okay, so now I want to figure out how I want to do it. I'm going to put the little teeny bits of blue facing down, and I'm just going to load this center up with some glue, and we're basically just going to smush our center on there. Okay. Is that so cute or what? This is the same technique as this one. The only difference is I used my sewing machine to sew around the edges of this one, and I did not with this. So if you have a sewing machine and you want to do that, feel free. If you don't have a sewing machine, don't feel like you have to have one in order to do it. Where am I? So those are those two. Okay, and now let's move on to our butterflies. It's exactly the same idea. I made a pattern out of computer paper. I will measure this, but basically what I did to get an idea of what a butterfly looks like versus a moth was I just Googled butterfly drawings, and then I just kind of eyeballed it, drew it on a piece of paper, folded it in half so the sides would be symmetrical, and cut it out. Okay, and our butterfly's wings are around 5 inches from top to bottom, and then the span of the top wing is around 5 inches. The bottom one is around 4 inches wide. I don't know if that helps or not, but this is so not precise, so it really doesn't matter. So before I came live, I just pinned my fancy pattern onto a piece of the quilt, and I roughly cut around so that I can pull it off of the quilt. It is easier to cut when it's not attached to a whole thing of quilts. And I have poked myself in the finger 100 times with these pins today. So I'm not being especially careful or anything. I'm really not. These look messy, they look vintage to me. They are vintage, so I don't think that precision is necessary in a project like this. Which is good for me because I am a very messy, not precise kind of a crafter. Okay, we're almost there. And this one, we're gonna stuff. You could use a printed fabric as the back piece if you wanted. It would be fun if it was something that coordinated with the colors of your quilt. But I didn't really have anything that was gonna be great for that. So I'm just using our good old standby of some canvas duck fabric from Walmart. That's like $6 a yard. That's my plan. And I'm going to tell you all about the centerpiece of the butterfly in just a second, so stay with me. Okay, look how cute that is. Adorable. Okay, so then the next thing I want to do is get a piece of canvas that's going to work. Let's find my edge. Tearing a piece. Okay. So this is what I have. And what I thought was easiest was just to glue it to the back of my butterfly and then cut it out. So, I need some more glue. Oh, okay, so let's see, who is this? Jean Ann says she did this with her husband's granny's quilt that was not usable. She used it to make angels on at Christmas. Oh, I love that. I would love to see pictures if you have any of things that you've done with vintage quilts. If anyone has any of those, I'd love to see. Okay, so I just glued that part on. This is going to be just like anything else we've stuffed. And I'm going to leave this side of it open on both sides. I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. Okay, so let's cut it out, and then we can trim it up if it's not perfect. Going around the corners is hard. And this is just the back. You're not really going to even see it. It's just to hold the stuffing in so we can give our little butterflies some dimension. You don't have to do this if you don't want. You could just do the flat butterflies. Just do a piece of quilt. And just like with the flowers, if you want, you can use a sewing machine or a needle and thread to stitch around the edges if you want. And that's especially good if you're working with a really, really old and tattered quilt that is basically falling apart. Okay, there's the front and here's the back. Okay, I left open the sides on both sides. And then we're just using some of your basic Crafters Polyfill. This came from Walmart. You can use any kind of pillow stuffing fluff you want. I like this stuff from Walmart because it's kind of stiff, if that makes sense. But you could take apart an old pillow. I have a lot of you guys who tell me that you buy the inexpensive pillows at Walmart and take them apart and use the fluff, and that's a little bit less money to do it that way. Anyways, so that's an option. And I'm just pulling my quilt batting apart. It's easier to get it to go in and stuff if it's, you know, not one giant clump. So I'm going to stuff the top of the wing and the bottom of the wing and the center of our little butterfly. And I'm not making this super duper full. Okay, can you see? All right, so I think let's close this side. Let's poke our stuffing in and close this side, and then we'll do the other side. So there's lots of things that you can use for the center of your butterfly. I'm going to show you a couple options, and I'll tell you where I got one of them because I know a lot of you guys are going to ask questions about it. It is pretty darn cute. Oh, look, I snipped a hole by accident. Oh well. That's the back. Okay, let's glue this side closed. I'm going to poke all the stuffing in as far as I can. This is the phase where you could really get burned. So I really think that anymore, there's almost no reason to use a full-on hot glue gun. Okay, so here's our butterfly. And the options. Okay, so this is one that I made before I came live. I think this would just be cute hanging on a door to a cabinet, hanging on a door in the center of a wreath. You could make a whole bunch of these without the hangers, and you could put them on a spring wreath. You could put them on a project. They could all go on a pillow. There's tons of things that you could do with this. Okay, so some of your options are, the first one is your good old handy dandy clothespin, but we're going to take it apart. Okay, so I just basically ripped it apart, and then we're gluing the two backs together. And this looks more like a butterfly center, the body and the head, than if it was in two separate pieces. See? Easy peasy. So that is one option, and that could be cute on there. If you have these, no need to worry about anything else. Another thing that I think is super cute are these vintage clothespins. And I picked up, like, I don't know, around 10 of them at an antique shop a year or two ago. I can't even remember for sure. I don't know if these are actually vintage or not, but they're the shape of the vintage clothespins, and I want you to notice that they come in different sizes. So this is the smaller one. Which could be super cute. Looks great. This is the bigger one. I think it's maybe a little bit too big for this size of a butterfly. And then another option are these. Okay, they look like this. They're like the one that I used on the first thing. And these are little wood, they're like mini wood spindles. And they came, when I ordered these, they came in 3 different sizes. I ordered them off of Amazon. I don't have all the info anymore, but I'm going to show you what I have. So this was the itty bitty bitty one, and then this was the bigger one, and this was the smaller one. So I would go with the medium one probably. And they came from this company. If you want to look on Amazon, the company is called Woodpeckers, and these are birch spindles. This little teeny one is 1.5 inches. Well, I can tell you what this is, actually. I have a ruler right here. This one is 3.5 inches, and the really long one is about 5.5 to 6 inches. So, if you are interested in getting some of these for any kind of project that you might want to do, I used these on this, for example. This is still one of my all-time favorite projects. I mean, of all time. But I used these to make our butterflies. The small one, and then the 2 of the small ones, and then the medium one. Anyways, if you want to look into getting some of these, you want to go to Woodpeckers on Amazon. Google or go to Amazon and then look up Woodpeckers birch spindles, and then I gave you all the sizes. And if you're hopping on late and you're interested in these, just go back and watch from the beginning or in the middle, and I have just gone over all the sizes. Okay, so we really have three choices here. We could do our clothespin that we took apart and glued together. We could do our old-fashioned clothespin, or we could do our little spindle. And I'm just, for the sake of having them be the same, I'm going to use this one, the little spindle. Okay, and then I'm just going to take a teeny bit of jute or cording or hemp or whatever you want to call this stuff, and I'm going to tie a knot. How long you make this is totally up to you, just depending on what you want to do. Do you guys like this project? Like these quilt projects? I hope you do. My goal here is to keep the variety coming all the time. Should I glue that under there? No, I'm going to put it on the back so that you guys don't get bored. So one day we might be doing something with a stencil like yesterday. Oh my gosh. These turned out so adorable. Yesterday we made these funny little carrots, These are Dollar Tree wood hearts, chunky wood hearts that we made into carrots. We use stencils to create the design on them. So one day we might do that. The next day we might make stuffed bunnies. The next day we might paint and cut up pine cones. I mean, I'm just trying every day to come up with something different for you guys. Here was another fun project that I haven't done in a while. These are champagne cork and sheet music flowers. So, why was I telling you that? I don't know. Just to tell you that I do try to have variety all the time for you guys so that you don't think she only does whatever kind of projects. All she makes are stuffies. Or all she ever does is projects with stencils, because that's completely not true. I totally try to vary things up. I do love flowers. So I do maybe do more flowers than everybody wants, but anyways. Okay, so there's our butterfly, and then I'm just gonna add this little piece of jute right here. And okay, dun da da. Look at all those glue strings. Oh my word. Let me pull a few off before I lift this up to show you. So there is our little butterfly. Here's the one I made earlier. And here are the flowers. This is the one we did today while I was live. Isn't it cute? And here's one I did earlier today where I sewed the edges. And here's one that I did earlier today where I laid them completely flat. Just to show you that there are different looks depending on what you're wanting. You can do your flowers. I don't know how to hold them so you can see them all. But I will get pictures as soon as I'm done, and I'll put those here in the comments. And yeah, and I will also, let's see, where do I need to go? I'll put those here in the comments, and then I will also do a separate post. So, thank you so much, Anne, for sharing these quilt pieces with me. I love them. If anyone likes this project, loves quilts, loves things with history, feel free to sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. Feel free to ask questions. Come back if you missed the beginning and watch from the very beginning, because I tell you everything that you need to know about this project. So, have a blessed rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I have lots of fun craft projects coming up, and I hope to see you there. Alrighty, bye everyone. Whoops.